All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Laughing with your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo.
Yep,
Du-du-dum.
yep.
Welcome, Mark. How's
I'm
it going?
picking and grinning. It's going okay for me. How's it going for you?
It's going fantastico,
Mm-hmm.
marveleso,
Mm-hmm.
and just riding the riding the waves of awesomeness right to the shore where there's a little frickin' beach house thing that says, give me all your worries and all your sob stories and drop them off, but be sure to return the beach chairs when you're done.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So basically, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
The plague, did you say?
Play. Play.
Like
So other
plague, like
no, the play. So other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
okay, okay. The play and Mrs. Lincoln,
And
crazy, crazy. Well, I guess I'll get it over with, right? And just
well,
spill it.
let me preface this by saying we weren't on last week. And
Noticed that.
Eloy had stuff going, and he got in contact with me, and I okay, so we're gonna postpone the show. All right, fine. And then we had out of state visitors, and it was kind of rush, rush, go, go, and go. And we went to go visit our out of state visitors at Linda's sister's house, and it was Thursday that it suddenly dawned on me, oh hell, you didn't post a notice saying that the show was going to be postponed on Tuesday. Oh no. And then I forgot about it again.
Yeah,
So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, you were having issues yourself.
I wouldn't say it that calmly, Mark. I wouldn't say that passive and that nonchalant. I would say,
The
hey,
proverbial ship hit the sand.
yeah, it was weird. I'll just mention it just to say so. Everything that Mark said, and then from there, everything that Mark said, and then from there, imagine the waves crashing on the sides of the ship, and then it getting marooned on some desert island, and like the tribes people coming out of the cacti, throwing their lances and harpoons, and pulling us out of the ship like stuck whales, and then cooking us over open flames, and then like consuming us little by, but leaving our head and working so we could observe every crap that was going on, and then a rescue ship in the distance and stuff, but we didn't have floppers to swim out to it. Just that's basically the story that happened afterward. So I'll say seriously, I had a beer in order to cut the cut the edge off, and it's the first beer I've had, and I had one tall boy, but it has cut the curve, so I'm a little bit like loosey goosey. But um, it's the first one I've had in like maybe 3 years.
Mm.
And when I sat down to have my dinner, and actually before as I was cooking it, I took a sip of and the first like the tongue touching the actual liquefied alcohol infused carrier of water and then the alcohol in it, it 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 immediately reminded me, oh yeah, I
That's
remember.
what that's like.
Yeah, and it
I remember you.
I was like, Mark, I was like, yeehaw, dude. I was like, man, this is gonna work, and it sure has worked because I could give a crap right now.
So basically, what you're telling me and the world is you're a lightweight.
Well, yeah, after 3 years I mean, I used to
Yeah,
drink,
I get it.
but just that much. Well, it was a tall boy,
Hmm.
but believe you me, I've had no alcohol flowing through my system for over
Yeah.
3 years. So
Yeah.
it set the tone. It's all I needed, that one.
Hmm.
Now I just got to remind myself to just let it be. Um, let it be. But uh, that said, it has set the curve where I don't feel as tight.
Hmm.
So what happened was this: Mark called me. I said, Mark, I've been having on Tuesday or Monday. I said, Mark, I'm having issues with my internet, so this will work out right because I don't know if it'll drop in the middle of our session and whatnot and this and that. Turns out that from that point on, I had no more internet until yesterday in the afternoon around 6 or 7 o'clock. So for over 7 days, I had no internet at all.
Eloy off the wagon.
I'm off the wagon. I never got
Wait
on a
for the
wagon
wagon.
to be described as such.
Wait for
If the
the
wagon,
wagon.
whether I get off,
Wait for
why are you
the
doing that while I'm
wagon.
saying my?
It's background music. I thought it sounded really nice. We'll
Well,
all
with the
take a
wagon would be like.
ride. No, no, we're doing a spiritual. It's wait for the wagon and we'll all take a ride.
I want to hear whistles and bells and castanets.
Well, okay. Okay,
I
yeah.
want to hear trumpeters and
I am
drummer
not
boys.
I am not your personal mariachi. So,
I want to merge mariachi with
mhm.
Civil War marching band music. I want to hear what that is like.
I think it would be best described as a din. Turn that bloody din down. Anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get you off track.
I'm not liking this off and on the wagon that um, uh,
Yeah,
Greg
well.
is insinuating, but we will allow because in any event. So um, for a week I didn't have internet, but the next day my neighbors called me, the ones who rent out next door, and it turns out that they didn't have electricity and the lights were flickering. So I went to work on that, and actually the first thing I did was call the power company, set up an appointment for them to come out. No date, no nothing. It was all automated. I tried to get a person. It's just in that loop of that
Hmm.
whatnot. We called 3 times that day, 2 or 3 times that day as it rode into evening. It took 2 days for the FPL for the company to finally get there. They changed out a bunch of stuff and this and the cabling and this and that. All the while I have power here, I just don't have internet.
Hmm. Okay, I thought you were without power as well.
No, I had power, but I had no internet.
Okay.
They had no power, but fluctuating internet
Hmm.
through their phones or whatnot. Or
Yeah.
the problem was that next door, the there was a polarization thing happening,
Hmm.
or like the circuit was all screwed up. When they fixed their side, the company power company, they said, okay, you're ready to go. Turn everything on. Turn everything on. Everything was the same, fluctuating. They said that's internal. I said, what
Uh-huh.
do you mean internal? Before this started happening, it was just fine, and all of a sudden it's fine. I said, well, you're gonna have to call an electrician because we can't really, we do up to here and stuff. And I'm like, well, so I tossed a line from my house to give them at least power for their air conditioning.
Hmm.
And then the next day I went and I called actually when they left in that I went and bought all new circuits or um what do you call them
Breakers.
breakers. I bought all new breakers, replaced them all.
Hmm.
Same thing.
Okay. Time to get an electrician.
So then it got tense,
Hmm.
relational wise,
Yeah.
because one gets all crap flows downhill. Um, but I can't read. I cannot. Not only can I not read minds. I mean, if you give me information, I
Hmm.
can suss out.
Yeah.
And if you give me facial features plus information, I can sort of direct my to give the best of what your mind is thinking
Hmm.
within reason. But I can't read minds, and let
Right.
alone can I read climactic or malfunctioning items of, like, you can't, like, it's not like I can read. Tell me, breaker box.
Hmm.
So I did, but it got tense because just it is what it is, and so I called an electrician. They made it the next day to do the review of it,
Hmm.
and they said, "Well, it looks like it's the power company, but I can't really say, but it looks like it's the power company because we're getting a reading this and the other, but your box is old and this and that, and the people were tense." And I said, just and the time was extending with no power, and that's really bad in Florida,
Hmm.
let alone anywhere else. So I said, change the box.
Hmm.
Either way, just change the box. Like at that moment, because of
Hmm.
the pressures going on, because
Yeah.
if it were up to me, I would have waited and kept with the processes. But it's not in my hands; it's somebody
Yeah.
else. So it becomes a situation.
Yeah. That's your tenant. That's your livelihood. Yeah.
So they said, "Well, we can do it for the next day, this that." And I said, "Look, is there any other way you could do it, like now?" And they said, "Well, we can do an emergency thing, but it's going to cost you this extra." I said, "Just do it." And so by 6 o'clock, more or less, they were there that same day. They pulled everything, pulled the old one, this, that, and the other, and then the original guy came out, and they talked among, and while they're working on it, they brought this huge panel, huge, like it was like industrial. They
Hmm.
had to go to Home Depot and come back with a smaller one. They
Yeah.
already had taken a picture. I don't know what these people were up to in their minds, but all that was an issue too. But they did a good job in the end. But when they were nearing the finish, around 10 that evening, the main guy comes up and says, "Look, I'm 99.9% sure that when we finish this, it's still not going to work because the problem is with the electric company."
Okay.
And I was like, "But there's a chance it'll work, right?" Yeah, there's the point. Um, and same thing, they turned it on, same thing, fluctuating, this and that. So we called the electrical company. They came back out again the next day, at the end of the next day.
Hmm.
They checked the meter, the this, the that, the lines. They said, "Look, this is not our thing. This is internal. This is with the electrician. They didn't do a good job." And you have to understand the psychology of what's going on with the people there,
Yeah.
me here. I mean, the situation is grave. It's just rolling into the tension, like on so many, not only economical, but I'm talking about like emotional,
Hmm.
the dynamics, just all of it was like blowing up. It was so stressful. So I called back, and by the way, in between this, I'm trying to get the internet company to come out.
Hmm.
The first guy, in between all this, the first guy that came out said, "Oh no, I'll come back. You have to clear that area out with the trees."
Hmm.
So I spent the day clearing trees,
Hmm.
and that's how.
All that crap.
And it's all
Yeah.
over my body because I had to get up on huge tree. Like I did a huge jump. Um, and that ended up being that he just didn't want to do the job because he could have pulled the line with not even worrying about that.
Yeah.
It was an excuse, and they never called. He never answered back. Like so, I had to get a new guy. So just imagine all this unfolding with the situation. So um, the electrician came back out and
Hmm.
found that the lines that the cables that come down through the pipe,
Hmm.
um, right where they connect. What had happened was that there was this not grease, but this uh I guess conduit electrical spray, whatnot or other.
Hmm.
I don't know what the hell that had basically caused a an isolation, so that it didn't make proper contact. He had to clean the cables out, which he should have done the first time. In fact, the first time that he came out to inspect, he should have checked all that. I would
Hmm.
expect that the experts
Yeah.
know to check the whole process before offering what they did. But I so that's what so basically I didn't need to nothing needed to be changed
Hmm.
in reality.
They just needed to trace the lines to it.
They just needed to clean the two lines in the box.
Oh
So I
man.
basically got screwed big time. I mean, big time. I mean, big time. Um, but I'm not an electrician. I
Yeah.
don't do that kind of thing.
Me either.
And the power company didn't check that, even though it's outside.
Hmm.
And the electrician didn't check that, even though it's within his purview.
Hmm.
And so basically, I, we were caught in that loop, and to drive it home, these people without power, and to drive it home because of the fluctuation, two ACs burnt out,
Oh man.
a uh, extractor for the bathroom burned out, various light bulbs burned out.
Hmm.
Okay, plus the stress, plus the cost.
Hmm.
Um, a week of that, and finally, uh, it was cleaned out and immediately. Once he cleaned it, everything was on, but it would have been on with the old box.
Yeah.
There was no freaking problem.
Yeah.
So you understand that's
Hmm.
messed up
That's a lot of money out of pocket for it that wasn't needed. Yeah.
on many levels. So that was taken care of, and then what do you call this guy? The
Cable
internet
company.
guy,
Yeah.
second internet guy,
Hmm.
finally came out, and he was reluctant because he had to go to another yard
Hmm.
to pull the wires
Hmm.
because they were hanging from 2 yards into ours.
Yeah.
But he did it reluctantly because I told him what had happened with the previous guy.
Hmm.
And then my internet, theirs started working, and mine was not even then because I had to activate. Because in this whole process, Mark, I went to the Xfinity, and they said, no, you got to change out your router. And
Yeah.
I figured, well, at this point, so I rented one from them,
Yeah.
brought
That's
it
what we
home,
do.
and that didn't work.
Yeah. You have to call and activate it.
Well, I had done this, so at that last yesterday, I called the guy, and we spent um, a long time, and it turns out that I ended up putting my old router back, the one you sent me,
Hmm.
which works just fine.
Yeah.
Everybody was insisting, no, the route, like everybody was like, the box has to be changed, this has to be changed, that nothing. Nobody just wanted to focus on the, and so I was caught in a loop of, I don't want to call it idiocy, but a paradigm where people just assume they leap to a
Uh,
conclusion, and the easy fix is the less expensive fix is ignored. And since so long story short, it took a week of all that and more that I didn't even tell you, but basically just imagine. So yeah, so that's my story. What's yours?
well, the thing about it is when you're the people on the customer service lines on the phone. Linda used to do that for AT&T.
Yeah.
And they're using troubleshooting software. They trace your line, but they're using troubleshooting software. And they have to ask you to do certain things. And the software will not let them move on to the next step until they've entered a result of that first test. And when the software says replace the router, that's the recommended action they're going to tell you to take. So They're repeating from a script. And if you tell them, I did replace the router, it's brand new, they can enter that and then it'll let them go on to the next step. But until that's done, there's nothing that they can do. Their hands are tied. They physically cannot progress to the next step. So, I mean, a lot of times it looks like they're incompetent when they're just reading the script from the company. And their hands are tied. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but
It's
you're
kind
talking
of like
about
it's kind of like when you go to the car parts store and you walk in and you tell the guy, "I need a fan belt for a 1987 uh, Ford Escort or whatever," and they go, "Okay, is it automatic or manual?" And it's like, "I need a fan belt. What does that got to do with the transmission?" It's because the software won't let them get in to find out the fan belt unless you enter one of those two choices.
yeah. Well, look, I spent a week with these cyclical automated
Uh
freaking
huh.
things, and I can tell you that we're in trouble because
Yeah.
human beings, um, if you have not okay, not everything can be delegated to three or four options
Yeah. I agree.
that perfectly encompass
Hmm.
issues involved and the details within that. For instance, I just well, long story short, it was me being sucked into the 19th century where I had no, sure, I had electricity in here, but they didn't, and I'm attached at the hip to them
Yeah.
because whatever goes, I
Yeah.
have to respond to. I would have loved to, like I tried to explain. Look, if it were up to me, but this is not, and so it was such a thing because not everybody. There's so much one a human can take until they just break because it's like,
Yeah.
we
Well,
really do rely on electricity and all the things.
uh
I
huh.
mean, we really do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And everybody is pushing to get us more and more reliant on it. I mean, this kind of goes with some of the discussions we've had over the past month. Talking, everybody's worried about AI taking over. AI already has taken over. And it's not the AI engines that people are worried about, it's these scripts that these customer service agents have to follow in order to troubleshoot a problem like what you had. So that artificial intelligence of the software won't let them go down a troubleshooting list and say, okay, we're not going to replace your router yet. Let's try these other four steps first. They don't even have that option. They're not. They're not allowed just physically because the software won't let them get to the next page, to the next troubleshooting step.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say artificial intelligence being the computer software they have to use.
It
So
was
when
wild,
so
dude.
when
Dude,
you go in to get a throwout bearing for your Ford Explorer, they got to ask you, does it have air conditioning? Well, is the throwout bearing on one with or without air conditioning different? No. Well,
you know where I
but the
would.
computer won't let them look. Go ahead.
You know where I would draw the line? Sure, they'll ask that,
Mm-hmm.
manual or, but if they ever, I'll tell you this right now in front of everybody, if they ever say, "Do you like Pepsi or Coke?" in one of those little things, I will frickin' flip a lid because that's the exaggeration of it. It's
Yeah.
gotten to the point where it's like, by the way, do you like cable or do you like pizza or like
Yeah. Paper or plastic?
it's like what does that have to do with anything, sir?
Well,
You know.
that's what I mean when I say artificial intelligence has already taken over because companies don't allow their employees to think. They don't want you to think, they want you to be an efficient unit. So you're going to follow the script that we have to do. Jim
It's
Dockrell says, just go into the part store with the part number. Try that. Tell me how it works. If you're going to an old school parts store, that might work. But if you're going to Napa or O'Reilly or AutoZone or any of these, you tell
Up
the kid
there,
I need a motor mount for a small block Chevy. They're all the same. They hadn't changed in 40 years. A motor
sir,
mount for a small block Chevy engine is a motor mount for a small block Chevy engine. They'll ask you what year, what make, what model. Does it have air conditioning, automatic, or manual transmission? Because the computer won't let them look for a motor mount for a small block Chevy.
sir, is that a four-wheel drive? And by the way, have you had any you or any member of your family had bovine
Yeah,
influenza in the last 15 years?
yeah, really. What
It's like,
color's the interior? Jeez.
sir, will you please tell me, in the 1970s, did your wallpaper have such and such a pattern? I mean, it's like, give me a
Yeah.
break already.
Well, that's because they can't trust the 16-year-old behind the counter who, goes to high school during the day. They can't trust them to think. But the problem is that extends to all of their employees. You've got the grizzled old guy that's touched every box in the store and he's been working there 30 years. He knows where everything's at. The computer won't let him get to the part number so he can go pull it.
Remember this afternoon when we were in contact?
Mhm.
Um, and I said, "Oh well, Mark, I'll set up the show. But, right afterwards, I'm going to go real quick, make a run."
Yeah.
So I got to tell you this. So I made a run
Mhm.
to the Publix, and that's where I got my beer and this and that. Got some other things, but you know.
Mhm.
So I brought up the beer to the counter. Tall boy. There was this young lady there, register lady, cute as a button, young girl, and so the little conveyor belt brings the beer and the other couple of items that I
Mhm.
had there. And she's starting to. She says hello. I said hello, and she's starting to ring. And when she gets to the beer, I say to her, "You know, in my mind, I'm just being like normal and this and that, but it really probably affected her because of her reaction." I said, "You know how long it's been?" And imagine I'm here bearded, you
Mhm.
know, so white hairs and stuff, and bearded and stuff.
Yeah.
And she start to, and I said, "You know how long it's been since the last time I bought a beer," and I pointed at the beer. She's holding it ready to click the thing. She looks at me, and who knows what went through her mind? And she says, "I don't
20
know."
minutes.
She says, "I don't know." And I said, "Go ahead, guess." And she's, "Oh, I don't know, sir." And I said, "No, go ahead, guess." I'm very normal about it, but to her, this was a very problematic situation
Yeah.
because this is
He's
a young.
asking he's asking me to think.
Yeah, that's one thing.
They said
But
there'd be no math.
and that's the thing, but she couldn't answer. She couldn't offer a choice. But I thought to myself, she may, yeah, because when she needs more information, I'm saying just guess, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know." And I said, "Okay, it's been years." And she says to me, "Oh, you've done that's something to be proud of. You've done a good job." I was like, "What the?" Because in her mind, you have to understand, she's looking
Mhm.
at this older guy, and he's asking
Mhm.
about beer. And in her mind, who knows what her reference points towards beer
Yeah.
is? Oh, this guy's got to be a drunk. He got on the wagon, just like Greg said, but now he's getting off the wagon. In her mind, who knows what
Well,
she was
she
thinking?
doesn't she doesn't want to offend us. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Well, but it goes to show. It was funny because I realized, and she was, and her thing, her only comment she could pull
Mhm.
was, "Oh, that's something."
To be
She didn't
proud
say,
of.
yeah, yeah, that's something to be proud of. Like in her mind,
Mhm.
whatever story came up out in her brain,
Yeah.
that's what she attached it to me asking her that question. I said, "You consider this for like sure I've drank in the past, but I'm not. I've had spells where I
Mhm.
drink, but I've been able to drop it." Like that. The only thing
Mhm.
I have not been able to drop is the tobacco, the
Yeah.
wacky tobacco,
Mhm.
because tobacco is such a it's such a
Calming element.
I'm sorry, but it's
I'm
true.
I'm 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 so much nicer when I can have tobacco. I really am.
I like my tobacco. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be wacky.
Now, Momo says, playing the devil's advocate, the parts store has to hire a person regardless of their experience or interest in the job itself. Also, return policies. I get that, and I agree with you, and that's part of the problem. It's more cost effective to them to keep hiring young people who have no experience and have no interest in the product and train them at an entry level wage. It's more cost effective to them to have that going on than it is to keep somebody who knows the store, who has touched every box in the store, because that guy has to be paid for his experience level. Well, they'd rather just, make life a living hell for him and hoping he'll split so they can hire the next, 18-year-old fresh out of high school and put them to work at an entry level wage. It's cheaper for them to do that in the long run. That's part of the problem.
I can tell you this
Yeah, yeah,
much.
exactly. The grizzled old guy quit that minimum wage job once he qualified for Social Security or disability or both. Yeah, yeah, if not sooner. You know.
I've got the impression, just in this little exercise of a week, which has been, I cannot overstate, Mark, how this was pretty freaking bad.
Yeah,
This was bad on a. I mean, there's worse things in life, but I'm saying that,
yeah, but you weren't dealing with worse things in life. You were dealing with the situation you were dealt. So you know.
and it was extreme in that way, in that it was bad all around, man.
Yeah, because I mean, the tenants are screaming, "Man, we need power. We're paying rent here. We need power. We need power. Our fridge, all the food in our fridge, and everything." Yeah, I can imagine. You know.
Yeah, and the story doesn't end because I have things to replace. It just keeps going, and I have sheetrock to do. That's no big deal, but um,
Yeah.
sheetrock's no big deal. But it's the cost of the ACs and all that kind of stuff. It's bad stuff. But what I was gonna say is that one thing that I noticed is, apart from my unhappiness of the
Mm-hmm.
situation, um, which was evident,
Mm-hmm.
the stress was savage. Um, is that people were genuinely not too happy. Not, not. I'm saying not us here. I'm saying everybody that came.
Yeah.
There's a sense of um, not pleased in the environment. We were stuck in a loop, but the
Mm-hmm.
people that came or that were in that loop with us from outside,
Didn't want to be there.
um, there was a sense of unhappiness, and I think that there's a bit of that in a grander. I think that anything else influences anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we may not be connected at the hip. Let's say you and I,
Mm-hmm.
but we are connected at the hip in a sense, in that we are all connected in this, in the
Mm-hmm.
greater in the nation, and just the stresses of life
Sure.
that that implicate everybody just because of the nucleus that is,
Mm-hmm.
the country and all that, and then localized, it runs downhill, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of overspending in Miami in terms of like the official government organs,
Yeah.
and I think that those pressures, plus cost of living and all this and that, you see it reflected
Mm-hmm.
um, in enough ways where it's noticeable. It's noticeable for me. Well, it's directly noticeable for me now,
Mm-hmm.
in this particular case. But I'm just saying, just in general, of people visiting had this, just. It's almost like bizarro. We've broken off from the main timeline and we've entered this bizarro world, and it may not apply to you. It could just be a localized. It could be as localized as we were stuck in a certain loop with people that were miserable, and the whole thing was miserable. Um, Either way, um, it's almost like we're clearing the we're almost at the edge of the forest, coming out into the prairie, open ground.
Hmm.
But for this whole time that we weren't in communication, I was lost in the woods.
You were
Um,
literally stuck on the wagon, the Conestoga without a horse. Yeah. Well, a lot of it too is this gets back to employees, be they experienced or otherwise. The trades are screaming for employees, but we're pushing this narrative where everybody has to go to college. And you're not going to be anything if you don't go to college. So, where is the new crop of electricians coming from? Where's the new crop of people that want to go to work for the power company? Where is the new crop of people who are carpenters and painters and steel workers and drywall hangers? And where are those people that are good paying trades, but nobody wants to seems to want to do that work because it's seen as beneath them? And I think that's a major problem. That's something that we have to stop, because personally, I don't think there's any job beneath you if it's putting food on the table. And I say this as a guy, I picked fruit, I've picked produce, I've cleaned other people's toilets, I've worked as a dishwasher, I've been in the back rooms of many a restaurant. I've done those menial labor jobs. You've not lived until you have gone in and cleaned up a building after a fire and tore down all the nasty old stuff so the carpenters can come in and start hanging pretty new stuff. You've not lived to your everything you own smells like smoke because you've been rolling around in it for 8 hours a day for the last month. I've done those filthy, nasty jobs, and it's getting harder and harder to find people who are willing to do those jobs, because everybody wants to come out of college with a degree in phys ed or whatever and think they're going to make a six-figure income right out the door. It ain't that way, cousin. And they really have a rude awakening when they get that $80,000 an hour job and find out the crane operator down on the docks is bringing in 160. So it's kind of like you got a lot of student debt that you didn't need to incur because you didn't try. You know, we got to get out of that mentality. And I don't know if you have a private electric company or if it's a public utility district.
it's the statewide thing.
Oh, okay. So it's not a private company?
It's private and public. It's a
Oh,
utility.
okay. Okay.
Like it's got the contract for the state, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
basically the
So,
merger between public
okay.
and private.
But it is a private company. Well, they got to get more employees. But how are you going to attract those employees? You know?
You attract them by putting fly paper on the ground and waiting till somebody gets stuck,
Yeah,
and then
that more
then
or less, a group of three go walking by the building and they reach out and grab every fourth one.
they clunk them with with a mace over the head. They
Yeah.
wake up and they're in uniform. Get out
Hmm.
there, do your job.
Yeah. Jim Dockrell has a good point here. You don't think much about tradespeople until your toilet is backing up. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let's say you're that plumber, Jim. How are you going to attract an employee? What have you got to offer?
I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's gotta be ching.
Yeah, I'll let you flush the handle. I'll unclog that drain underneath the house. Yeah, right. You got to really love what you're doing to have that job. I've done that job. I don't want that job.
Well, Jim could offer, like, for all employees,
Hmm.
free bath mats with every hire. Here's your bath mat. Go to work.
It better be a lot of money. That's one of those differences. I think I don't like to get into topics like this because they're controversial, but I will. There has been a trend going around on various social media platforms of women saying, "We don't need men. We don't need men." And it's like, oh, really? Well, Who are you going to call when your toilet backs up? You know?
The toilet fairy.
Yeah. How many female garbage truck drivers have you seen? It's not that I think they can't do the job, because I've seen a lot of female bus drivers, so they can drive a big equipment. They do it all the time. Every school bus driver I ever had was female, I think, but they don't want to drive a garbage truck because it's smelly. Never mind the fact that that garbage truck driver is making double what a bus driver makes. But women don't want to do the dirty, nasty jobs. To Jim's point about money, men don't want to do those jobs either. Men don't want to clean outhouses. Men don't want to clean and haul porta potties. Men don't want to suck out septic tanks. But everybody has a price, and the guy is willing to at least talk about it. That's a nasty job. That's a filthy job. You better be paying big bucks. And the companies that have to do those jobs know it, and they pay these people big bucks.
You know that plumbers see more corn than a corn cobbler.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know
So
what that means, but it means something.
it Jim says the mines will hire equally as long as that truck is moving. They're happy. That's 100% true. They don't give a ding dong who's driving that truck. But how many female applicants do they actually get?
I'm a child
That's
of
the
the
thing.
I'm a child of the 80. Well, I was born in the 70s, but let's just call it a child of the 80s. But that implies 70s attitudes and notions, 60s and 70s attitudes and notions from parents.
Mhm.
And in the world that I grew up in, there was no. You know how people push still this idea of there's all this machismo going around and this and that. I didn't grow up with it in my mind. I've been trying to deal with the fact of, now that you brought that subject up, and it is a controversial subject. Um, I didn't grow up thinking that at all, and I'm not even saying this for any points. I have no one to impress, to be frank with you. I'm
Mhm.
saying it just because this is what I actually believe. Just that I didn't think of, like, women can't do this because but men can, and
Yeah, I didn't either.
like none of that was
Mhm.
even in, like, it didn't even cross my mind. None of that. I
Yeah,
mean, sure, if there was a jar of freaking peanut butter and a girl handed it to you, it implies that you have some strength and this and that. But that meant just nothing. It just meant that, okay, here's the open can of peanut butter that I just opened for you, and that's the end of that. I mean, it didn't even,
yeah,
like, this whole competition
I'm with
thing,
you.
none of it. None of it.
I'm with you 100% because I never had that attitude either. To me, it was just always, hey, this guy does this and this woman does that. I mean, my father was in the grocery industry, and it was about, there was, men and women cashiers, I mean, in and out, bouncing around all the time. So I never really saw that. But on the night crew, where they're lifting boxes and it was physical heavy labor, it was all men. I didn't pay attention to that. I didn't care. I was a kid. But it's not that they will allow women to do that job, is that most women don't want to do that job. Um, Jim says you may be surprised at how many women drive dump trucks and work equipment here. Probably not, because I lived in the state of Nevada for 15 years, and the mines around there were women drivers all over the place. Driving, and we're talking about the big dump trucks that you can put 4 limousines in the bed of, the big old honking son of a guns with 12-foot tall tires, because they paid huge money. The downside was you got to live in a little crap town with 200 population, and you had nothing to spend that money on, you know. But there was a study done, and I'm trying to remember who the hell did it. I really don't remember who. It was one of the colleges. It was a university back east by you somewhere. I want to say it was in North Carolina, but I could be wrong. So don't quote me. And they talked to 100 men and 100 women. And they offered two scenarios. You can either take a unpaid internship for a year, a high status internship with a high status company, unpaid for 1 year contract with no promise of being rehired or even interviewed after your internship. Or you could spend 1 year working in the sewers and the manhole covers for 100,000 for that year with no, and that's a 1 year contract, no guarantee of further employment. Which would you take?
I'd jump into the freaking cesspool.
100% of the women said that they would take the internship. And it was like 96% of the men said they would work in the sewers for 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, screw that. I just, what are you gonna
So
do? I mean, the one thing is like,
it's just an example of the mindset. It's not that we won't let women be bricklayers, but 92% of the masons, 92% of the bricklayers in America anyway, are men.
there's
Like
no, there's
89% of the plumbers, I think it's like 80% of the uh, electricians are men.
well, this whole thing of we won't. The idea of we by lassoing men as if we have a fraternity, dance hall and liquor lounge facility in the center of town where we plot what the limits of, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah.
you're
We
gonna,
we all got together on a Zoom call, and we said, well, no, men don't want. All right, they can be reporters, but they can't come in the locker rooms. And there's three guys in the back going, but what if we want them to come in the locker rooms? You know,
yeah, the problem with the that whole world of the gender, um, like pitting the one with the other, or framing it like they did in the 70s, or actually throughout the 19th century. And it's not as cut and dry as that, because there were issues, obviously,
yes.
that we could look at. But like, um, here's what I want to say. I think personally that there's variations in everything. It
Hmm.
depends on the specifics. But I would probably bet that if you pulled us back in time into like the medieval ages,
Hmm.
sure enough, the Don in the village somewhere in Spain that owned such and such amount of land and rented out such and such amount of mills and houses for the area people.
Yeah.
He had his wife and daughters and this and that, and I know they had their sis, but I get a sense that no matter the time frame, the pressures brought to bear by women on men, the peace of mind that when one walks through the door as that Dawn back in the medieval times and stuff, and if she didn't have the conditions that were appropriate that she expected for house, family, and such, and this and that, and all that, the access to communication with the whole village and the women in each, they could disrupt the living daylights out of the peace and rest and peace of mind of whether it's a Don or whether it's a guy working with shovels down by the frickin' thing. What I'm getting at is there's no reality in my mind where women don't have um, force to bear,
Hmm.
um, you know,
Hmm.
regardless of. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because they can basically.
Well, that's a 20th century way of looking at it, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm of that 20. Good God, I married an aircraft mechanic who later outranked me in the U.S. Army. So I'm used to women in non traditional roles. And I figure if you can do the job, do the job. Have fun with it, rock
No,
on.
I'm saying that even if the
But,
non-traditional thing or if the traditional thing were in play,
mm-hmm,
like going back in time,
yeah,
there's no way that the guy, no matter what the dude's status was back in the day,
mm-hmm.
that he was scot free
Oh, I
in
know,
terms
yeah.
of there's
And if,
no freaking way.
and in fact, I have a theory as to why certain cultures feed such a huge meal for dinner, like the Italian culture. You've seen the big meals that they serve and everything, and after dinner, all the guys are sitting back on the couch with their hand tucked into their waistband, going, uh, and the women are in the kitchen washing dishes because that's the only peace the women get. The guy isn't on them about this or about that or about the other. So they feed them till they fall asleep so we can get some peace and quiet.
But this idea of pitting just the narrative of pitting men against women in that
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm against it.
but now at the same time, I don't know, and nothing is full like across the board because people vary in
Mm-hmm.
their assumptions and the way they see things. I mean, that's human to have
Mm-hmm.
differences, but there is or has been a theme where they pit or women culturally women are pitted against men in terms of and I've seen examples of that where credit is not given even at the most slim like surface level,
Mm-hmm.
um, and men are reduced to, and the opposite can be said too. There's a
Mm-hmm.
tendency to simplify, is what I'm getting at, about
Well,
what women mean, what men mean, and what roles mean, and all that. And there is tradition going through time, but what I'm getting at is that. Um,
times have
um,
changed.
if you see someone is what I'm getting at, and they happen to be whatever, a woman or a man, if you see someone, it's hard not to say, oh well, that's a woman or that's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, well
Yeah,
wait a second. I'm talking about I'm talking about back in the day. Oh, okay. So I just screwed that one up.
yeah. Don't dig the hole deeper.
I thought it was, I thought it was saying something that's acceptable, but it's not even. Screwed up. Forget what I just said.
Yeah,
Back in the day, you would look at and see, oh, well, that's a woman, that's a man. Um, but there's a difference between that's a woman, therefore, all these other things need to be true in terms of like
yeah,
their place, that kind of
yeah.
thing, or their ability to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
Like all those extra, you can't
I agree with
homogenize.
that.
Yeah, you can't homogenize just because, oh, here's a woman, so now we know this is a
Yeah.
woman, so therefore all these other things are true. That's kind of pushing it
Hmm.
because you're assuming way too much
Yeah.
without giving due credit as it unfolds.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm, and the same with men. It
Yeah.
can't be that every man, okay, is trying to jump in someone's pants.
Yeah, that's
But
true. Well, no, they don't even go that route anymore. If you look at popular culture since about the 1980s, the man is the idiot and the
right,
woman is the smart one in the family.
can I re-edit that? Not every man wanting to jump into someone's pants. Let's say there's a balance of that, but
Yeah.
that's not the point. That's not
Yeah,
the,
exactly. But
the,
it's every man is now Tim the Toolman Taylor. We can't do anything right, and the woman is the brains of the outfit. You
right.
know.
It's these
So I don't know.
reductionist. It's like these reductionist things, Mark, where we
Hmm.
you know, it's kind of the same thing as the automated voice services that we've been talking about. It reduces the needs of people to
Hmm.
these basic freaking like press one for this, two for that. But there's
Dude,
more complex stuff going on.
it is big time. Years ago, I don't remember what day it was. I don't remember if it was a holiday or whatever. But yes, it was International Women's Day. Burger King on their Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, it wasn't X yet. Burger King posted on their timeline on Twitter, a woman's place is in the kitchen. In. Then the first pinned comment underneath that, it said only 25% of chefs in the world are women. We need more women in culinary school. Then a link to a culinary school that they were supporting, trying to get more women to train to be chefs. Nobody bothered to look at that first pinned comment. Everybody jumped on that. A woman's place is in the kitchen. And all hell broke loose
What was a
over
trap
it.
though?
It was meant to be funny. And I thought it was funny. But the thing about it is, nobody bothered to read below the headline. You know how that goes. You read the headline, you know the whole story. No, you don't. They got that. They did that as an attention getter to get you to read the next comment, where they wanted you, women, to try to, hey, we need more women in this culinary school. Come over here and check out this culinary school that we support
Yeah.
monetarily. But nobody bothered to read the second line. And I don't
Second
know if
lines
that
of the
statistic
food.
is I don't know if that statistic is still true. I mean, there are certain fields that are completely and totally dominated by women. The medical profession, number one, is totally dominated by women. The legal profession, it's almost 50-50. It bounces back and forth, you know? So, but the medical profession is overwhelmingly dominated by women, with one exception, and that is surgeons. And I have a theory about that, but it's just a theory. I've got nothing to back it up. And I think it's because, and I'm generalizing here, a massive generalization. Men in general like to work with things, and women in general like to work with people. If you look at the majors women tend to take in college, you've got like psychology, law, medical, pre med, and then medical school and trying to become a doctor, things like that. I'm trying to think of the word. People who work in social service, social workers, predominantly women, psychiatrists, predominantly women. They like to work with people. They prefer to work with people. Plumbers, mechanics, electricians, carpenters,
Mark,
predominantly men. They like to work with things,
I
sir.
just came, I just came up with. I'm sorry for. I just came up with a joke that is so would be so offensive, but so. But I'm not gonna say it. But I had to say that I came up with one in my mind. It's terrible. It
Talk
has.
to me about it later.
I'll just say it has something to do with the profession of monks with a vow of silence, and who would not take that job. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and that's the reason that I think there are fewer female surgeons. It's not that men won't let women be surgeons, it's that women, generally speaking, there are exceptions, of course. Generally speaking, women don't want to be surgeons because you have to be able to detach yourself from the fact that this is a person and I'm going to hurt this person when you cut into someone's chest, then get a bone saw and open up 3 ribs to get to the heart. It's easier for a man to make that disassociation. I'm gaining access so I can fix the broken thing.
With a cheeseburger on top of the chest while the operation.
Yeah, he's got his hands in the chest, and there's one assistant over here, and he's going swab, and they daub his forehead, and he goes, "Okay, cheeseburger," and takes a bite over there, munching away while he's working on your left ventricle. But Neurosurgeons, overwhelmingly men. Uh, uh, Pulmonary surgeons, overwhelmingly men. General practitioners. In our doctor's office alone, it's three women and one guy. It General practitioners, overwhelmingly women anymore. You could kind of understand why there are more female gynecologists and more male urologists, but radiologists, overwhelmingly women. It's because you are working with people. You get to sit down. Where does it hurt? Physical therapists, overwhelmingly women, because they're working with people. They're not working with anesthetized, broken things. That's a theory of mine. I don't know how true it is,
I don't know.
but
I I
but I
I, I don't
I
know.
don't think it's because men do a better job. There are some brilliant female surgeons, especially in the field of ophthalmology. There are some brilliant female surgeons, but they are really, really, really in the minority.
I mean, I know that there's studies out there and this and that. Um, I, I I don't know what to say about that. I could say this much: there are things that men tend to gravitate to, and that women tend to gravitate to, and it seems like just according to our society that it's of their free volition,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
some people argue that it's because of, well, actually Jordan Peterson brings this one up all the time, and I have my problems with certain things that Jordan big problems with certain things that Jordan Peterson says, and other
Mm-hmm.
things I'm completely like, yeah, that's freaking awesome. You might say, well, who am I to judge? He's the professional. Well,
Yeah.
but I can think and I can see where gaps are. If I could ask him, then maybe those things could be corrected, but I see problems. But in this case, he's mentioned statistics, something of Scandinavian countries where they had a project where they would offer equality in terms of
Mm-hmm.
playing with dolls and this and that, and then careers as people got older and all that stuff, where it was more by unisex type,
Mm-hmm.
and boys always tended to want to go play battle, and
Mm-hmm.
women tended to, on average,
Mm-hmm. There
according
were
to studies.
exceptions, of course.
There's always exceptions, but like on average, there was a gradient where
Mm-hmm.
men wanted to do or boys wanted to do certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but so there's something. So Jordan Peterson said, and I think, and I agree with this because it kind of is self evident, um, that it's biological. It's profoundly infused in hormonal distributions.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like this. There's certain things that are like the leopard or the tiger. Which one is this? The leopard changing his spots. You can't do that. Even if you wipe the spots, if you even if you paintbrush the leopard,
Mm-hmm.
even if you put a tuxedo on a leopard to try to make him look like you, they're always gonna be a leopard because
Mm-hmm.
it's something innate in the, it's in the DNA,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the cells, it's in the hormonal, it's in the process of the, and so even though you have a male and a female, or I'm sorry, you have males and female, and that implies that those are two categories within
Mm-hmm.
humans. It's true that within that you have many females
Mm-hmm.
and many males, and those many females will vary greatly in certain things. So you will have truck driver females, and you will have um, pedicurists, man. Like
Yeah.
you will have all that.
Yeah, and there's always going to be a wide variety, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you give a little boy the tube out of paper towels when it's empty, and it's automatically a machine gun. You give it to a girl and it's a kaleidoscope or a telescope or something to woohoo walk around and torment the dog with. I mean, it just depends on the personality, obviously. But you give a little boy a 2x4 block about that size and he's going to run it around on the ground like it's a car. You give it to a girl, she's going to use it for a chair for her doll. I mean, the psychological things I think are built into us. Not always to the same extent or the same level, but I don't think that you can deny there are certain things that are attractive to men and certain things that are attractive to women because the data shows it.
Not only does the data show it, but we've been doing this generationally till the forgotten past, where
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people just men know a woman when they well not but
There you go again.
but generally speaking, well, see that it cheapens it when you have to say when you have to qualify that. But it's ridiculous. But you get the point. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
a reason that procreation exists and
Sure,
all that, and it just it's just so
sure.
it's self evident.
Mm-hmm.
It's self evident even in our crossing paths with other men at night. Maybe they're walking across the way. You look and you're saying, I might have to put that one down if they try to screw me over or come over and try to assault me. I'm already thinking
Yeah.
that's a potential target that I'm going to have to take
Yes,
down.
that's a potential threat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's embedded in us.
Yeah, and every guy knows it. Every guy knows that there is always behind the scenes the threat of violence.
Hmm.
Every man knows that. Every male knows that. Every boy knows that. You learn that in kindergarten. You got a ball and you're playing with it, and some other kid wants the ball, there's going to be a scuffle. You know, well, why can't they play together? Well, that's the way girls are. That's the way girls think. Men don't think that. Men think, I want that ball. You know? So, I
There's
don't know.
there's an episode in that '70s show where it talks about this in a comedy way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I might get this wrong. Somebody will remember, but whatever. The point is in there somewhere, where Red Foreman, he's like the typical American 1970s dad. He's
Mm-hmm.
serious and to his son Eric, go clean your room and you go do, and like he's all strict and don't be a dumbass. Go do this and that, and like he's that kind of guy. And it's funny. It's funny because he's really portraying something that we're all familiar with. Um, and then the son's more like the hippie guy, like dad, we're gonna go to the concert, or hey dad, can I borrow the car, like all the stuff that we have
Mm-hmm.
grown up with knowing, the hell that we we experienced ourselves.
We all did.
Yeah, well, there's this one episode where Kitty, his wife, Red Foreman's wife, the mom, um Red Foreman doesn't have a lot of friends because he's a grouchy son of a you know what.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and she, and then so a friend of his, or someone becomes a friend of his, and they decide you want to go to that game or whatever, and she's happy. Kitty's happy because now her husband is gonna have a friend that's gonna share. She said, and she tells her neighbor friend, the lady, she says now Red has a friend, and they can talk, and he can express his emotions, and maybe they'll even cry and this and that. And so then Red goes off. And then he comes back, and she says, Red, did you how was your, it was fine. And what did you talk about? We said nothing the whole time we were there. We just enjoyed our presence quietly,
Mm-hmm.
watching the event or whatever. And like the laugh track of the show goes on. But it's funny because it's something self evident to all of us that guys can
Yes.
hang out
Mm-hmm.
on average and pretty much not say much of anything.
Yeah.
And it's all right, you know?
Yeah. What was the dude that had? I can't remember. He's a comedian. His thing was, "Here's your sign." I can't remember his name. Oh my God, I can see him plain as day. He was part of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. Steve is frantically typing right now. Here's your sign. It wasn't Jeff Foxworthy, wasn't Larry Cable Guy, wasn't Ron White. I cannot remember this dude's name. Anyway, he had a joke about that. And it's a joke about the difference between men and women. No, not Jeff Foxworthy, Jim. Um, I can't think of his name. Anyway, he was talking about they were at he was at the gym with his friend and his Billingval. Thank you, Jim. Billingval. Thank you. I could not remember his name. Says they were at the gym and his friend, whatever his name was, said, "Oh, yeah, Louise and I are getting a divorce." He said, "Oh man, that sucks. Here, spot me." And that was
Yeah.
it. That was the end of the discussion.
Yeah.
Well, he got home and said to his wife, "Oh yeah, Gary or whatever his name, they're getting a divorce." "Really? What happened?" "I don't know."
Yeah.
"Well, was it his fault? Was it her fault? Was she cheating on him? Was he cheating on her?" "I don't know." The conversation was, "We're splitting up." And I said, "Oh, that sucks." And that was it. We communicated the information. I heard everything he wanted to tell me, and I wasn't going to ask questions. That's how guys communicate. That's it. Got a
Yeah.
new truck. Looks cool. That's it. It's over.
Yeah. That's that's the going average.
But we're not going to sit there and share our feelings. I'm not going to tell you my story. That's not going to happen because every man knows in the back of his brain that this man in front of me is competition. And if I show that weakness, I have just dropped 20 points in his opinion as far as competition is concerned.
Yeah.
And a lot of women say they want that in a guy, but they don't. Because the minute a man shows any weakness, her respect level for him drops. You've seen it. You may not know you've seen it, but you've seen it.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I just rely on or remember to rely on the idea of variation exists in all that because
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
depends on the depends on the experience of the person and how
Hmm.
they react or how they might be open. It depends.
Yes, you're right. And
You know,
it's a
there
broad generalization, as I say.
right. It depends because you know how it is. If sometimes the combination of a person, it just takes one or two things that are off
Hmm.
on from somebody,
Yeah.
you know, a lady or vice versa, and then that would be a turn off automatically. But then some of the quirkiest, weirdest things. I mean, you see couples that are quite odd, and they're both perfect matches because in their oddness, that's kind of what gets it on that level. And then you have so there's variations in all these things,
Hmm.
you know.
Sure.
So I kind of like, but as a pattern, or at least as a cultural um, lens thing, that's typically the pattern. What you're
Hmm.
saying, but I don't want to exclude all these variations that exist because they kind of do. People are funny,
Yeah.
the way they are. Some people like the darndest things,
Yeah.
and
Well,
there's also all that kind of stuff.
but you can see that demonstrated all over the place. Every man, every man walking the earth knows the etiquette at the front door to a public building. Every man knows the etiquette. If you are the first person there, you open the door. You let your wife, your kids go through. Oh, there's two ladies coming in. That's fine. You hold the door. The next guy to come along knows it's his job to take over door duty. You're standing there holding the door, especially if your wife and your kids have already gone in. Every guy knows it's his job to take over holding that door so you can go in with your family. Now, how many of them do it? I would say the overwhelming majority. But you still get some younger, mainly, guys who will go in and go, thank you. Or an older retiree. I give older guys a free pass because they've held doors their entire life. But every guy knows that. I was never taught that. Were you?
To open the door.
No, to hold the door or take over the door when you're the next guy in.
I don't know. I was told to open the door for women
Mm-hmm.
getting in the car,
Mm-hmm.
entering a building. I
Right.
was told to step on the outside of the curb and let them,
Mm-hmm.
walk on the inside.
Right.
Um, my grandfather had a joke. He didn't say it serious, but he said, "I will tell. This is a great lesson. You never." But my grandmother would be standing close by, and he did that so she could hear.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd say, "You never in this life ever raise your hand to a woman, ever." And I'm looking at him, and my grandmother's like going like that, and he says, "Never raise it up. You have to strike it down," he said.
Yeah.
And my grandmother would frickin' flip out, and he would be cracking up.
Mm-hmm.
But in Spanish, it works really nice, you
Uh,
know. But the same idea just flows
yeah.
perfectly in English as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a
Yeah.
contradiction. He's
I
giving you such a moral lesson, and then he
and
frickin' ruins it
but
with the.
but see, that's why it's funny because we know that it's wrong. It's that quick juxtaposition. We know that it's wrong.
Yeah,
You know.
you gotta picture my grandmother. You're like, ah,
Yeah, because you knew. But that's why he said it went only when she was listening
yeah,
because he knew what her reaction would be,
yeah, hilarious.
and that's what makes it funny, man.
And I would be cracking up because it's such a contradiction. And remember, you're a little kid and you hear something that's such a, and I'd be cracking up. It was just, dude, it's really a great. It's one of for a kid to hear something juxtaposed like that. It just makes you laugh the heck.
Greg says I push the handicap door button for others. Always thinking outside the box. Greg, we think outside the box. Greg is like, there was a box.
I gotta tell you this that happened in this week as well. Um, I had to
Yeah,
do.
we are the older guys now. Yeah, yeah.
I have to tell you this. I had to do laundry,
Mm-hmm.
and my laundry machine is my laundry machine. What's it called? The washer.
Mm-hmm.
But I call it the laundry machine. Hey, that's the laundry machine.
Mm-hmm.
I just swallowed a chunk of Copenhagen
That'll
for
teach you.
even joking.
That'll
Um,
teach you. That's karma. Karma for what you were thinking.
it went down. So I had to do laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the laundromat um, down the ways, and it was late at night, and there was this one worker there, this bearded guy,
Mm-hmm.
skinny bearded guy, Cuban guy,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to talking, and he was an odd fellow. Some would say insane, or on the cuffs of it, but I understood him perfectly. He was referencing um, what was this Roman emperor that had Marcus Aurelius.
Mm-hmm.
He referenced psychology. Psychology. He mentioned a litany of things. We got into psychology of this, that, and the other, and all that. And I was like, man, this guy here working at the laundromat is dishing it out heavy duty. But externally, the way he presents
Mm-hmm.
is like maybe he's off, right? Who knows how I would present in any situation, to be honest.
Well, in an insane society, a sane person would appear to be insane.
Well, there's
Look
that.
that up in your Funkin' Wagonals.
Well, that's the thing with this guy. So he's on, but so he has a bike that he
Mm-hmm.
takes to work, and his
Okay.
bike, you know those supermarket bags that you fill up here from one store, they're yellow, the
Hmm.
bags are plastic bags or whatever. He's got just a full hanging from the front of his handlebars and all around.
Hmm.
It looks like the skirt from some sort of like Polynesian. And that's what he rides around town
Hmm.
in. And it's like that's my bike.
Hmm.
People think I'm crazy.
What's the purpose of the bags?
And he says, "You know why I have the bags on there?" I said, "Why?" He says, "So when I'm on my bike, everybody sees me
Hmm.
from afar, so I don't get hit by a car because
Okay.
it's that obvious,
It stands out.
big time." Now
Okay.
here's the thing.
As nutty as that may appear from a pedestrian walking past it, I can't find the flaw in the man's logic.
No, there's a purpose to it,
Exactly. I can't. I can't fault the man's logic.
but it also signals that he doesn't really give a crap about the perception from outside
Hmm.
because it's so odd, and that signals someone that's maybe off and this and that. But and he is off. So like when we were discussing all these things, philosophy, this, that, and the other, uh, he seemed like he could follow a train of ideas and connect them and
Hmm.
follow paths.
Sure.
And but he also would wander, and I wasn't sure if is he wandering because I can't understand what he's saying, and so I think he's wandering, or I can't understand what he's saying because I just simply can't. Like I couldn't make out what was going on, but I couldn't say that he was insane.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
So it was a weird thing because I could see the external display,
Hmm.
which would appear insane to anybody, to
Yeah.
me. But when you get to talking to the guy, he's hitting you with direct stuff, and you're like, well, wait a second. Normal people can't frickin' put this together.
Yeah.
But he was doing it.
Hmm.
So now, does it take insanity to get you to be have clarity? Um, and then insanity is in other words, is a sufficient amount of clarity over thoughts and how things connect the breaking point, not for one's insanity, but because there's such clarity and it's such a drift from what's normal that other people view it as insane.
Well.
It really got me to question those things. I know there's people that are insane,
Hmm.
but some people appear insane because they fall outside the norm
Right.
perception wise,
Hmm.
but they're on 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 the mark.
Yeah.
So it was curious that in this laundromat here in Sweetwater,
Well,
I ran across this guy.
I mean, how insane could he be? He's there doing his laundry.
No, he works there.
Oh, he worked there. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, he may be insane, but he's got a job.
Yeah, but I could imagine the things that he was saying.
Hmm.
If you say that to any regular old person, they're
Hmm.
busy in their life. I got to do my laundry. I got to get back to this. I'm doing that. They're not thinking freaking Aristotle.
Let's sit down and have a conversation with this guy. Yeah.
And so that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, yeah, well, this guy would,
Well,
come off as, off.
yeah. Well, to many folks, to too many folks, perception is reality. So if this guy steps out of the norms, he's got to be nuts, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's driving around with a bicycle with bags all over it. I mean, never mind the fact that you can see that for blocks. You ain't going to miss that, you
No, you're
know.
not.
But, and that's his purpose. He wants you to see that. I
Yeah, for
can't, again, I can't find, he was sane enough to get a job. He's obviously sane enough to hold the job. And what can you say?
he doesn't care about social perception about him.
Mm, okay.
That's what it appears like. He could give a
That's,
crap.
that's a pretty comfortable place to be. That's a pretty comfortable place to be because too many of us get caught up in that. I mean, we're doing this. You know, we have to care what other people think because we have to put ourselves through the YouTube filter. There are certain things we can't talk about. There's certain words we can't even use. We have to, come up with different code words or talk around subjects, or
Yeah,
we'll get slapped by the YouTube folks. So if we step outside of that box, there's a consequence. I don't know, man. I kind of rebel against the whole perception is reality thing because you never know. That's the old adage: you can't judge a book by its cover. You know, the guy who is walking down the street in dirty blue jeans and a T-shirt full of holes. You don't know his story. Is he coming home? Is he a construction worker coming home from a shift? Is he the guy who, you know, passes the donation basket in church, who cleans up and dresses up real nice? But you just happen to catch him at his worst moment because his truck broke down the road, and now
well,
he's trudging down the road to get home.
worst moment is also questionable because the perception of his worst moment based on being raggedy down walking down the road
Mm-hmm.
could be his accepted norm. You know what I'm
It,
saying?
it
Like,
it could be, but that's what I mean. You don't know. You don't know. An apocryphal story, and this was told to us by a car dealer when we lived in Savannah, Georgia. This young woman, 18, 19, 20 years old, something like that, come to this Pontiac dealer and was looking at a Trans Am. And we were talking to the Pontiac dealer at the time. And he said none of the guys wanted to go outside. This one guy went out there and pretty car, huh? And she said, "Oh yeah, this is beautiful." And he said he's kind of guided her away from that and kind of pointed at a little Sunbird, which was kind of almost like the Chevy Vega of the Pontiac line. "Oh no, no, no! I like this Trans Am." And he looked at her and he said, "Sweetheart, you can't afford this car." She's there in a T-shirt and Daisy Dukes, and she said, "Oh, okay." And she went over and she got into a small car. Don't remember what it was. And she drove off. Well, the guy went back into the dealership, and one of the other dealers said, "Oh, she left." He said, "Yeah." "What was she looking at?" "Well, she was looking at that Trans Am. She can't afford that car." He says, "Do you know who her daddy is?" "No." He happens to own one of the biggest. I don't remember what the hell joints it was. "I hope you sold her that Trans Am." He's like, "No, I told her I couldn't afford it." They're like, "You idiot. You just blew a big ass sale because she looked a certain way. You assumed a certain thing. You idiot." I think her dad ran a chain of stores or something like that. Believe me, daddy had money and would have bought his little girl a car. But now you just told her that she can't afford it. Well, maybe she can't, but her daddy could.
yeah, the perception in his mind led him to think all these certain things.
Uh huh. And it bit him in the butt big time right there. So again, it's an apocryphal story how much truth there was to it, but looks can be deceiving, and that's all I'll say, man. It is, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Well, you talked about that one. Was it a video or was it a study where they showed people who were looked nice and clean cut versus guys who looked raggedy and said who is most trustworthy?
Yeah.
And all the nice clean cut guys were serial killers and things of that nature, and all the raggedy guys were just guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of them were professionals or what have you.
Yeah, they were like actual contributing members of society.
Mm-hmm.
They just looked the part of like
Mm-hmm.
just regular or raggedy guys, while the other ones were neat and clean cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's always the first thing that happens when they get them into court. Put them in a nice cable knit sweater, make them look like they're something.
Yeah,
So.
you put an assassin in
Mm-hmm.
a nice suit,
Mm-hmm.
and they can get off scot clean. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I understand. Jeffrey Dahmer was a real nice guy. When he wasn't eating people, he was very charming.
You can put a decent or right person, non threatening or guilty in the worst, you know, and and they'll get the book thrown at them just based on. I mean, that's really it, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it we like to think that justice is blind, but
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be, but yeah,
that's not the case.
yeah.
I mean,
You don't. Yeah, well, I would say justice is blind, but the jury isn't. You know,
that's
the
it.
jury is influenced by a nice cable knit sweater, and if you wear the right cologne, you know. Um, can I bring up a subject that's absolutely apropos of nothing we have talked about, but something
Yeah,
that I think you might find interesting?
yeah.
Um, Linda and I, mainly Linda, she hooked me into it, have been watching the eruptions up on Kilauea in Hawaii. And she found a couple of cameras, a few live cameras. And the eruptions really started going off in cycles. I mean, fountaining lava up into the air and what have you. And it didn't really hit me until I started looking at pictures of what it was and where it was. And I'm going to do something I don't normally do here on the podcast. I'm going to do a screen share.
Okay.
And I got some things to show you. This is, can you? No, you can't. Not yet, you can't. I've got to bring it in. There we go. Now I can go over to this camera. This is the active portion of the Kilauea caldera. And right now it's just putting out smoke and steam. You can see this, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right. This area is known as Hale Ma'oma'u, and this is the ancestral home the Hawaiian goddess Pele, who is the goddess of volcanoes and land development, meaning adding more land to the islands. And we've been watching these live cameras. This is, well, it's not exactly live. Now it's live. And you can see it's 4:05 in the, no, 5:05 in the evening over there right now. They're 3 hours behind me. And then here's another live camera of that same crater, just a different angle.
That's steamy.
Okay. This camera right here, you can see all this lighter colored lava here. It was either yesterday or day before yesterday. It was fountaining out, and all of this is brand new.
How big is that plume of smoke?
Um, well, let me switch back over to this camera. You can see how big that is.
Oh, okay, so it's huge.
Yeah, and a lot of that is sulfur dioxide gas. These fumes are hazardous, but who are you going to issue the environmental um, violation to? So now I'm going to switch over to something else, and that is this a little map of the Kilauea caldera. And what we were looking at was this right here, Halemaumau crater. Okay. This whole thing is the Kilauea caldera. Um, what I'm talking about is Crater Rim Drive right here, this red line. This is a view from 1996. Okay.
Okay.
You can see the road comes around, it makes this real wide sweeping corner and comes in, and there's a parking lot. Well, in 1997, Linda, myself, my mother, and my father, we went to the Big Island and we came up here. And we parked in this parking lot and walked down this trail to this little star, which is an overlook where we could look over the Halemaumau crater. And for a photograph, this is the same thing. Here is Crater Rim Drive, and here's that big sweeping corner. Then it comes around here, and here's this parking lot. Then you can just barely see this trail leading down. Here's the overlook, and it had a placard on it on a pole that said what this is. This is the home of Madame Pele and all this other good stuff. Well, what we're looking at live now is the result of a couple of collapses that took place. And again, this is about 1997, and here's that sweeping corner is a big landmark here. This is about 1997. And this is a photo of 2020 of that same crater. And here is Crater Rim Drive. It comes around here. Here's that big sweeping corner, and all of a sudden, nothing. Then here's Crater Rim Drive at this end, and all of a sudden, nothing. That parking lot, that trail, that overlook, all of it collapsed down into Halemaumau crater, and the whole thing sunk.
Crazy.
If you look at this piece here, you can just barely see a stripe right there. That stripe is part of this road. So the parking lot we parked in, the trail we walked down, and that overlook are now underneath this lava, or a part of this lava now, because it's all melted rock, basically. That made it personal. I'm like, holy cow. This picture right here is a screenshot. It's a freeze frame, obviously, from a YouTube video. I will post over on the Trampled Underfoot podcast Facebook page. It's a minute 41 seconds, but they have this collapse took place over the course of 2 months, and they have images of it actually collapsing and this lava lake forming and then filling up to the point where at the time they edited this video, it had filled in 1/4 of all of this collapse and added 500 acres of new rock to Kilauea caldera.
Crazy.
So the power of nature is freaking scary, man. But you can see that rift, that collapse started about right here. and went over to here. So all of this area in here collapsed down inside the caldera. And Hale Ma'o got big. So wild stuff, my friend.
Massive.
Really wild stuff. Especially when we can say we were there. Okay, yeah. Um, she said Hale Ma'o was 400 feet deep in that picture. It sunk about 1,400 feet. And it is refilled many, many times over. And dude, we were watching on those live cams, and I'll post links to those live cams too. What I'll do is I'll post that video on the Trampled Underfoot podcast Facebook page, and then down in the comments, the first two comments, I'll post links to those two cameras. Linda has been using that as a nighttime screensaver. She'll pick one of those cameras and leave it on there. And like we'll see rocks glowing because they're still so hot. There'll be a slight landslide and you see glowing patches in there because the rocks are still so hot. And then all of a sudden it'll start bubbling. And then all of a sudden it'll start squirting and fountaining. And Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, they said about 3 days ago it had fountained up to 1,900 feet in the air. This is serious stuff. I mean, we're talking an active stinking volcano. And it's all molten rock. It was wild to watch. And I mean, they have 5 or 6 different cameras, but those are the best two. In one way, it fascinates me because we were there. In another way, it terrifies me because we were there.
The power of it.
And I mean, my mother was the biggest chicken in the world. And I'm glad all this happened after she passed. I'm not glad she passed, but I'm glad this happened after she passed. Because I remember we were walking down there to that overlook to check out the volcano. And there were little cracks in the ground and cracks in the pavement of that parking lot and on the road. And steam was coming out of those cracks. And she's like, is this thing going to blow up? And I'm like, well, if it does, you'll never feel it. She goes, Mark, that's not funny. Is this going to blow up? No, it's not going to blow up. Well, there was a big rock the size of me along that trail. And I just touched it, put my hand up against it. And it wasn't burn you hot. You know, you could hold on, but it was hot. And I mean, I felt all around it. So it wasn't just the sun heating up one side of this rock. This rock was hot. And there was a stone that stuck up out of the ground about a ½ inch, maybe. Almost tripped over it. And just on a whim, I bent down and I touched it, put my hand on it. And it was hot. And I'm like, I didn't say nothing to my mother until a couple years later. You remember that big stone? Yeah. Did you touch it? No. I said, I did. It was hot. And you didn't tell me? No. Because I didn't want to hear you all the way back home.
But would that not have been normal?
It was normal. The point is, it was scary. And I didn't know how scary it was until things started clicking. And it's like, oh my God.
So it's dangerous to even go up there.
Yeah. The Crater Rim Road is closed now. You used to be able to drive all the way around it. But obviously, half of it's down in the crater. So you can't drive on that. But they've got it closed further back just to keep people away from there. And you now have foot trails. You can still go up there. It is Volcanoes National Park. You can still go up there. The rangers will tell you they don't recommend it. And they don't suggest it. But you can still go up there. if you really want to.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
And
like.
many people do.
I mean, it sounds like a risk.
Yeah, it is. It is big time. And they do have barricades up, they're like poles with rope that you can easily step over, but they don't want people getting down in there. But again, it's your own trip, so, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I
if
guess.
you if you feel froggy, go ahead and jump, man. But that was when my parents were there. Well, it was probably 6 months later. Linda's sister and grandniece came over, the grandniece that was just visiting from Texas. And we flew over to the Big Island and we were going to go up to the crater the next day. And it was one of those cases of they got into their hotel room, we got into our hotel room. Whenever we get into a hotel room, the first thing I do is I turn the TV on. I'm that guy. And turned it on to local news, and I was just catching the end of the 7 o'clock newscast. And they said, "So, some excitement up on Kilauea Crater. We'll have details at 11 o'clock." And then that was the end of the news. And I'm like, well, hell, I didn't hear what happened up at Kilauea Crater because we were going up there the next day. And
It wasn't there anymore.
then we got back after 11. We didn't get back to like midnight, so I missed the 11 o'clock news. So I never find out what the excitement was. So as we're driving up there, you get up there, the first thing you do is you hit the visitor center. And we pulled into the visitor center, and there's pictures and this, that, and and they're all looking. And I went up to the ranger, and I said, "I heard something on the news yesterday that you guys had some excitement up here." And the guy was like, "Oh my God." So what happened? I never heard what it was. And he said, "You know how big the crater is, right? The entire caldera." "Yeah. It's 3 miles long and 1 mile across." I said, "Okay." "The lava that's on it, we estimate at about 1,400 feet thick." "Okay." All of a sudden last night, alarms started ringing. They've got the volcano observatory up there, and everything is set up. He said alarms started ringing, and everything just all hell broke loose. He says that entire lava plug, the whole thing lifted up. He said, imagine the thickness if you stack 7 dimes on top of each other. He said that 1 mile wide, 3 mile long lava plug lifted up that thickness. And then all of a sudden, downslope, one of the vents, suddenly it just exploded. And the whole thing settled right back down. It was a massive buildup of pressure, and a huge fountain stream of lava started spewing downslope from the caldera top, relieved that pressure, and everything settled right back down. And I'm like, holy hell, and we're fixing to go walking around on top of this thing. I kept that to myself. We went up and we did our thing, but we didn't stay there nearly as long as we did with my folks, because I was casually reminded this is real. This is not on TV. This is
That's
the
a
real
little.
deal,
That's a little bit dangerous
you know.
because you don't know where that's going to blow if it does.
And you don't know when. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. He says, we were going crazy up here because we're like, oh crap, we're going to have a summit eruption. There's 2,000 people roaming around in the park that we know of. Lord knows how many are just out there by themselves that didn't bother to check in. They were just going absolutely nuts.
But how much time do they have for warning?
Uh, they estimated they would have had about maybe 15 minutes. If it would have continued to build up the way it was, they would have had about 15 minutes. He says there's no way we could clear the park in that much time, in that little amount of time, because we didn't know where everybody was. People are out exploring and they got tents set up, and doing their thing. Some of them were in the campground. Some of them, there is a military camp there. There's a hotel and restaurant there called the Volcano House, as a matter of fact, where the original Volcano House was built a little bit closer to the crater. And during one of the eruptions in the 1800s, it caught fire. It had a fireplace that was the fire was burning, and the tradition was that fire never went out. The fire in the fireplace never went out. They built a new hotel and built a new fireplace first, and the first thing they did was they took some of the still smoldering stuff from the original volcano house, put it in the new fireplace, and lit a new fire with it. So they could say that fire's never gone out. And built the volcano house hotel around it. That's still open today.
Crazy.
It's wild. It really is. It is wild. So, but I mean, that close call that we had with the seven dimes. Yeah, that's right. Linda said she sat in a chair next to that fire and knitted. Yeah, she did. She also says that's true. Everywhere you live have some kind of danger. It just depends on what you're willing to live with. Um,
I mean,
because you live with hurricanes, not so much tornadoes, but still the possibility, right?
yeah, we have the possibility.
To me, that's scarier than hell. It really is. Now you've been there your whole life, so obviously you're okay. Your house hasn't, been blown away or anything like that. So you're kind of probably, no big deal. You deal with the
No, not
hurricanes
really.
as they come.
It's nerve wracking the bigger they get. You know.
Uh huh. Most folks I find in tornado country are scared shitless of earthquakes, and Linda and I are like, meh, maybe we felt it, maybe we didn't. But,
It depends because, I mean, if you were the people of San Francisco when the great earthquake hit,
yeah. Yeah, whether you had a blasé attitude or not, yeah,
yeah, I mean,
I can see that. So, all right. Well, I just wanted to bring that up because it was something that has definitely held our interest for the last couple of weeks, and yeah, Steve's got the hat trick, the trifecta there: hurricanes and tornadoes and a few earthquakes. Yeah, the new Madrid fault
and,
there.
and Greg, if Greg's still around, Greg has vampires up there.
Yeah, well, only the ones that come from the moon. Um, and the new Madrid fault is up there and changed the course of the Mississippi a couple times.
Yeah,
So,
the Mississippi always changes course across time.
mhm. Well, I think before we land the plane, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the passing of Ozzy Osbourne today.
Hmm.
Um, I've got to admit, I'm not a student of his music after he left Black Sabbath, so that's mainly what I know him from. I've heard a couple of his tunes from his solo career, with and without Randy Rhoads, before his passing. But it's kind of interesting. He passed today at the age of 76. And it's hard to think about the guys we used to watch and listen to as being that old, you know?
Yeah, and he he was one of the ones that made growing up interesting music wise. He gave a lot of stories, eating bats and crazy adventures, and
Hmm.
I wrote a little piece about it. I mean, everybody's been mentioning it because he was iconic in that sense. But his Black Sabbath era was pretty freaking awesome.
Well, but you might as well say they invented a genre.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
they did.
Tony Iommi with those iconic riffs basically invented metal. And
And it
doesn't
was
get the
dark.
yeah, it is dark and it went dark. But they discovered they had the audience for it and it worked for them. So what can you say? I mean,
Yeah, it's an iconic thing. Um, that music and that person um, from our from the last century,
mhm,
which we can say it that way. Um, the significance of which is hard to, um, you know, box in
mhm,
it because he's just an iconic figure, and
yeah,
it's difficult in this case to really quantify how important his contributions were. And that band, the original band, and him on his own,
mhm,
because he built up this legend. But even as kids, it was already legendary. Even back then, for us, well, particularly for us kids. But by the time I started listening to his stuff, it was a decade after
yeah,
he initially started. Anyhow,
yeah, yeah,
so if you think of that, he had been around
mhm,
musically for a decade by the time I started listening to him.
yeah. Well, their first album was well, their first three albums came out in 1970, I believe. It was either
I think
two or three.
I think they had one 1969 one. I think
Well,
maybe
they got together in '69. They changed their name to Black Sabbath in '69 from
they were
the
Wizard.
they were Earth.
Oh, Earth. Wizard was the Grateful
Roy
Dead.
Wood. Wizard was Roy Wood.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the Grateful Dead?
Oh God, I can't remember. Now, unless no, because Roy Wood and Wizard came out after the Grateful Dead had been around a while. I don't remember what they were called. I really
Well,
don't.
my favorite album of theirs was Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
That was, I believe, their third album. Maybe I think that was their third album, wasn't it?
It was such an awesome album.
Mine
Um,
is still Paranoid, and that was their second album. But the critics didn't take them seriously. The critics kind of poo pooed their music and just it's all just it's mundane. It's the same. It's repetitive. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. And it wasn't until Sabbath Bloody Sabbath that they actually started getting better reviews. Rolling Stones still said Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was a bunch of crap, but they listed it as number 289 in the 500 greatest rock and roll albums of all time.
I find that
So,
it's an excellent just musically the whole thing. It's um it's freaking awesome, dude. Every track on that album is. I mean, I grew up listening to that because that's like the one that I bought first,
mhm,
and it was a guilty pleasure because they were
yeah,
kind of evil, and and from a Catholic worldview,
yeah.
it's oh this is wrong, isn't it? I gotta listen more. This is so wrong. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, it's awesome. Oh, it's
Well,
so
it wasn't helped by the fact that Rolling Stone kept calling their music so dark, and this was so dark, and that was so dark. Ozzy just started calling himself the Prince of Darkness. He just said, "Yeah, why not?" You know. But he knew the game. He knew that was a game. Okay, I'm dark. I'm dark. All right, the Prince of Darkness. There you go. Deal with it.
they all had that theme of like
Hmm.
monsters and stuff.
Yeah, he went with the horror side of it. Yeah,
Even if you think about it, even ACDC, with the hat with the horns,
with the
remember?
devil horns, Angus Young. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that was done for the Highway to Hell album,
yeah,
and it just took off. You know,
yeah. They all had that theme. There was that
but
sort of, you know, dark horror movie slash
right,
whatever.
But
Make
if you listen to the lyrics of that song, there's nothing devil worshipy about it. It's basically it's a cautionary tale. You're on a highway to hell, you know.
yeah,
So
but still,
yeah,
people don't register that.
no, they don't listen to the music. They just see the title and go, "Oh, see, some devil worshippers, you are the spawn of Satan. Get away from me, Satan." Yeah, no, that's not what it is, dude.
Now, I will tell you, there are some that are, in my opinion, absolutely dark in the bad way. One of them that I never liked, that I got the creeps out of, was Marilyn Manson.
Yeah,
That just gave me the creeps. Like internally, I was like, ugh,
and it
rejecting
was
it.
it was 100% on purpose because he also knew the game
Yeah,
and he knew that there was an audience for that and he knew how to play to that audience and he got his followers and that was all there was to it.
I'm just saying I didn't like his because it
Oh
was
yeah, me
that
either.
there was some. In fact, if you contrast him with someone like Iron Maiden or whatever,
Hmm.
I didn't feel the same way with Iron Maiden. But his music, that Marilyn Manson, there was something wrong with that.
It was just creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the in the worst ways,
Hmm.
you
Yep.
know.
All right, let's go ahead and land it. I got to go take pain medication.
All right, well, we go live every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern and 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on the Trampled Underfoot podcast show on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page where Mark's going to link up some of those images and videos from the lava explosion. So be sure to check out Trampled Underfoot podcast on Facebook. We also have a website, and you can go
There we go.
check out our past episodes over there. And we're also sponsored by.
No, you boy, you went through that quick. You must be tired. We'll do that. Okay. Sponsored by Harneal Media. Hey, I've been singing the praises of Harneal Media since episode 1. Long time ago. Sherman set the Wayback Machine to episode 1. All back when this was nothing but green fields. And I'm going to keep doing it until he tells me to stop it because that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of guy Steve is. He's not going to tell me to stop it. If you're even thinking about the idea of a website and even toying with it in your head, there's nobody I'm going to recommend you to but Steve over at Harneal Media. Why? Because he's that good. He's competitively priced. It's 100% personalized service when you deal with Steve. No, when you deal with Harneal Media, you deal with Steve. That's how that's supposed to go. You would think I would write this down and read it, but I'm winging it. I'm always winging it. Anyway, if you're thinking about a web store, maybe you want to offer your products and services to the public at large. Maybe you want to design and offer merch to the public. Steve can hook you up with a print on demand company that takes care of the shipping. They take care of collecting taxes. You just sit back and watch the orders come in. So look, do yourself a favor. You got absolutely nothing to lose. No obligation. Go down into the description of this live stream or any of our live streams and click the link to harnealmedia.com. Click that contact us button and shoot Steve a message. Again, no obligation. You got nothing to lose. Just tell them the folks from the Trampled Underfoot podcast sent you. So do yourself a favor, head over to harnealmedia.com. That's HARNEAL media.com, sponsored of Trampled Underfoot podcast.com.
All right. Now do all that in Latin, ancient Greek, and Babylonian.
You
Go.
would wet yourself if I did.
If you did, yeah. In
but
the
but but not as quickly as I would.
in the future with AI, you will be able to do that. There'll be an automatic translator, so you could speak
Mhm.
whatever language and it will do it for you.
Yes, but it would sound like this.
No, you're assuming that, but just imagine perfect rendition of you speaking it, and it
I
altered.
don't have that vivid imagination. But yeah, okay.
I'm just saying. In any event, all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We hope that you have a safe and enjoyable one. Um, I don't know why I sound like a teacher at
I
last
don't either.
class at school. Bring back your homework, and we're gonna grade that come Monday. So you better um, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next time here at the same channel, and we're out of here. So peace.
Bloody old beak black.